friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be finally talking about my top 10 books of 2024, preluded by some honorary mentions. So if you guys have managed to read any of these books or have these books on your TBR, let me know if this video has helped you in any way kind of push to read those books, or if I've just added more to your TBR. That's an amazing thing to know too, so let me know in the comments. But if you like these kind of videos from me or want to see more from me, hit like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and let's just get in the video. So like I said before, I'm going to start off with some honorable mentions because 2024, while it was such a big reading slump for me, the reading slump really let me read books that I wanted to read. Once I accepted the reading slump for what it was, I was like, okay, now I have to be just a little bit more finicky about the books that I read because I just wanted to read at that point. I was like, I miss reading. I just don't know what's going on. So I finally was like, I'll just be more picky about the books that I read. So because I was so picky for a good chunk of 2024 and the latter half of it, I really got to find books that I really enjoyed, like genuinely really just enjoyed to read. So the first honorable mention is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is an adult romance novel following a group of friends who have always gone to this one place in Maine for the summer. However, this will be their last year going to Maine, and the two main characters that we have are currently harboring a secret, as they've been dating for the better half of the decade. I think they have been broken up, but since this is the last year they're going to be here and they don't know when the last time they'll be with their friends is, they don't want to bog this down with their breakup, so they decide to fake date in order to just keep the peace. I had such a fun time reading this. I'm a huge fan of Emily Henry starting now. The only reason why this one didn't end up on my actual top 10, even though it was a contender for my top 10, is that I just had a lot more fun with the other books that I've read, and so I didn't want to like put it on the top 10 and then realize that like it didn't really belong there because I found another book that I really liked. I don't know. I also could really relate to the characters and their struggles, specifically with Wynn's struggles. He struggles a lot with depression and not really knowing what to do, and he did end up admitting that he took that out on Harriet because she seemed to know what she wanted to do and then all that stuff. So we get to see some of his mental health struggles through there. The next one is The Monstrous Mrs. Mai by Van Huang. This is an adult historical fiction novel set in 1950 San Francisco, following these young girls all somehow named Mai, whether it's the middle name, the first name, or a nickname, all end up in this apartment together. They all have these big dreams that they want to have, and they're kind of allowed to strike a deal with the devil to make these dreams come true. And it follows as their dreams slowly kind of form into something a little less dreamlike than they've wanted. I got an arc of this, I believe, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars simply for the ending. But it's just a book where I think about it constantly and I want to see more from this author, and I just wanted to see a less happy ending, as bad as that sounds. It is kind of a little sci-fi, it is a little horror for sure, but I do think that I would have given this the full 5 had it not had such a pretty neatly wrapped in a bow kind of ending. The next one is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Madana. This is an adult cozy fantasy romance kind of situation following a young girl who is one of a handful of witches in the UK, I believe. She's been doing her magic on Instagram to kind of just feel like a place connected and she belongs. That is until an elderly person comes up to her, forgetting their name, sorry, comes up to her with the task of training these 3 little witches who have been adopted by humans and are way out of their league with it. So she goes to their home and starts to teach them magic and how to deal with magic, and it's just all about her finding family and finding romance. Again, another 4 to 5 stars, but I had such a fun time reading this book. I just feel like the world building around being witches was so fun to me, especially how witches can burn out, and because they burn out they just have to like sleep, quite literally sleep it off. I love seeing the different magic systems that we had going on. I love the romance. The romance was very cute, and I think the payoff for that at the end was really nice too. My biggest issue with this was that there was just a lot of like small, weird, little inconsequential like hints at a subplot that never really went anywhere, and at that point I would just prefer it was taken out so we could just enjoy more of the familial bonds that we were seeing growing in this book. The next one is The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese. This is an adult novella following a young girl who is a manager at a bookshop, or a co-manager at a bookshop. The bookshop's kind of going downhill, obviously, with the rise of Amazon and larger branch bookshops happening. So the owners put her and her like rival, her co-manager, into a kind of a competition to see who can sell the most books, and whoever sells the most books by the end of the holiday season will end up being the new manager, while the other one kind of has to skedaddle. In the meantime, she is emailing this guy online that she's met, and they seem to be really hitting it off, but she's really nervous about actually meeting the guy. I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. It's gonna be a new favorite for me, honestly, in terms of like reread and read every like holiday season. It was just a lot of fun. It was very cute. It was like so holiday-y without it being super in your face about it, and which I really enjoyed at the time. And the last honorable mention is gonna be 'Tis the Season for Revenge by Morgan Elizabeth. This is an adult romance novel following a young girl who was dumped on her boyfriend on Halloween. She's always wanted to be his like wife and has done things to adjust her appearance, the way she talks, the way she acts, to be able to fit this mold. So when he dumps her, she and her friends come up with the idea of her dating the dude's boss and making him fall in love with her, so that way she is brought to the Christmas party that he never brings her, that the ex has never brought her to. This was really fun. It was very steamy, and I really did enjoy it. I think Damien is such a fun love interest to have, especially since he kind of knew what he wanted from the main character right off the bat, and he never really tried to hide it. I think I almost gave this a 5. I think I gave it a 4, simply because I'm not a biggest fan of some of the dirty talk that was going on. I talk about it more in my December wrap-up. And I also just feel like that sometimes the main character was being stupid for stupid's sake. But other than that, I had a really fun time with it. I want to continue on with the series, but the rest aren't set in a Christmassy like situation, which I think was a major flop on the author's part, because I definitely would just follow these characters every Christmas if I could. Moving on to my actual top 10 of 2024, starting off with number 10, and that is I can't say this word. The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity by Saka Makami. This is a manga series that I've like kind of like 6 or 7 volumes in, following these two students from a rival school. One's all girls and one's all boys. The girls' school kind of looks down on all of the boys because they don't really study as hard as they do, and they look down on kind of things that aren't super like up there in the echelon. These two students meet and they fall in love, and they have to keep their romance a secret lest the main girl ends up losing her scholarship from Kikyo, from her school. Manga is becoming an anime in 2025, so I'm trying to read through as much as I can, because this series is just so cute and so precious and just like so heartwarming and soft, and just fills you in with all the right feels. I love seeing this very slow burn romance happen. It's only 7 bits in, and 7 volumes, and they just started dating. It's not as slow as I would like, but they also like, I mean, it's slow enough, you know. But it's just so cute, and I want to see more of these characters. I have volume 8 teared up. I just haven't had a chance to pick it up yet. I think I'll probably take a breather from all of my like Kindle Unlimited reads after I'm done with Carmilla, and just read a couple more manga to like just refresh my life here. The next one is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Pawson. This is an adult romance novel following Florence, who is a ghostwriter for a well-known romance author. She has been currently struggling to finish off this last novel, though, that in her contract, because she has been dumped brutally by her boyfriend. With this burnout and such, she finds out that her father's died, and asks for an extension. One does not come after the other. I believe she asked for the extension, gets rejected for the extension, and then her father passes away. She hears news of her father passing away, so she has to go to her family's mortuary, cremation, I forgot what it is. They do a funeral home, they do the embalming, I believe, so I think it's mortuary, only to find that her editor is sitting there in the lobby of her family's business. Her editor has no idea how he's got here, not sure why he's here in the first place, and because of Florence's talent for seeing the undead, she can kind of assume that he has since left this world as well. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This was such a fun read. Again, the theme for 2024 seemed to be just reading about burnout and how to manage burnout, and it felt a little attacky on the book's ends, but that's fine, it's fine. I had a lot of fun reading it. I think that this was a fun like little twist on romance and like the paranormal, and I just love that little hint of magic we got with the romance in there. It was just a lot of fun to read, and I love seeing Florence learn to kind of reach out for her family and ask for help. The next one is The God in the Gumiho by Sophie Kim. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars as well as it's an adult high fantasy novel set in a modern day Korea, where all of like where the folklore run wild. We have a god who is been punished to live with the humans until he learns to value human life. We have the Gumiho, who is like almost like a kitsune of sorts in Japanese folklore, who tricks people and like has been eating on people. There's this huge thing happening, kind of like a weird murder mystery occurring, and the two of them have to work together to figure out who has been doing these killings, how to stop it, all while the Gumiho, whose name I'm forgetting because it was so long ago, tries to keep her secret that she's been this monster that's been going around killing. 4 to 5 stars. This was a really fun book to read. I love seeing the different folklore and the mythology weaved into it. I love seeing the modern setting because I don't see enough of that. And I love the romance. The romance was just so cute and quirky to me. I did have my issues with it, but I think I talked about it in one of my wrap-ups for y'all to peruse. So the next one is Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. If you have been following me since probably the beginning of 2024, I have been slowly getting into more gothic literature. I ended 2023 with one of my favorite reads of the year, A Place for Vanishing by Anna Freistadt. So it only made sense for me to go further and further down the gothic pipeline. But this is about Nell, who has always been kind of sensitive to the paranormal. She is asked to join a study in the Hill House with some other members that she has never met to see if they can contact the paranormal or if they can prove the paranormal actually exists. As they're staying at this house, it becomes increasingly aware to everyone in the house, somewhat Nell too, that the house has chosen her to be its next victim. This book was so different from the TV show. So different, but in the best way possible. Like, I love loving two of the same things, but for different reasons. Like, I love the TV show for the the heartbreakingness of it, and like just the pain with it, but I love the book because of all the twists and turns that it takes you, and just like the ultimate shock that was the ending. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself when I read the ending, and it just kind of like ended. But it's just such a fun read, and I want to read more Shirley Jackson books to see, just because, you know, she is like kind of the queen of like horror, along with like some of the other like pioneers of the horror genre. So moving on to number 6 on the list, and that is The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. This is an adult gothic novel following young Beatrice after the death of her family at the end, or at the death of her father at the end of the 1840s Mexico Revolution. In order to have more financial freedom from her family, who does not like her or her mother for her mother's decision to marry her father. She is then whisked away to his mansion, and she finds that the spirit of his first wife has not quite yet left the world, and she is haunted by this ghost who is both warning her and trying to put harm on her body. I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. This was definitely a favorite standout of mine. I read Vampires of El Norte this year too, and I ended up picking up this book right after because I was just so invested in the writing style. It's very much reminiscent of Rebecca in here. I really love, because I read Rebecca earlier that year as well, like in that month too. Such a creepy, fun read, and I would say that I think this definitely touches more on the paranormal aspect that Rebecca does not. Rebecca was more like psychological. This touched on definitely more the paranormal, and I love the romance, the budding romance between her and the priest, and I love Beatrice's like desperation for independence that she does not really get from any of the people in her life. I just loved her so much, reading about her and reading her struggle. It was just so good. And I will be picking up The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas when that is released this year. Top 5 now, and that is number 5. Sitting at number 5 is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. It's an adult romance novel following Alexis, a ER surgeon who is on the heels of a breakup from another surgeon who cheated on her. She's on the way back, I think, from a funeral, and her car, on a snowy night, because duh, and her car gets stuck in a ditch and has to be towed out by this beautiful, beautiful man whose name I do not remember, Daniel. And the two of them begin a like kind of very slow relationship. She's hesitant to bring him around her family and friends because they're also judgmental and icky. Meanwhile, he is ready to profess his absolute love for her to the world. And the two worlds can't seem to collide because Alexis is struggling with that kind of image of like, I have to follow what my parents want to do, but I also really, really like this guy. I love this book. It was so much fun. I can't wait for Just for the Summer or whatever it's called. That's the second spin-off of this world. I love the little hint of magic that is in this that kind of implies that the town finds people they love and like makes them want to stay. It just read like a Hallmark movie in the best way possible, like Hallmark minus the Christian propaganda. It was fun, it was cute. I just love reading these two, and I can't wait to continue on with the rest of the books in the series. Moving on, number 4, which is The Last Blood Cover by Vanessa Lee. I have to read the official synopsis of this because I kind of forgot. This is the first in a duology, and it follows Nika, who is the last blood cover in this world that's very like against this practice. She's able to manipulate blood to heal, to take lives away, and all this fun stuff, and she has been running around faking it this entire time as a healer. She ends up getting caught and is stuck in this kind of whirlwind murder mystery to find out murder mystery to find out what happened to this royalty's family, and gets caught up with it in the process. I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. So painful, so emotional, so beautifully written. I really loved reading about Nika and reading about the romance and reading about her just embracing her culture at its fullest. It was, like I said, probably one of my favorite reads of the year. It was just so heartbreaking, and I fear that the sequel is going to be just as heartbreaking. I think there might be some necromancy involved, so I am for sure not ready for that. Number 4 is A Sign of Affection by Sue Morishita. This follows young Yuki, who's a sophomore in college. She is deaf and has been functioning throughout the world as such. She then meets Itsuomi, who is a hearing student. He's a senior who loves to travel the world. And he meets her and is just immediately besotted with her and starts to learn Japanese Sign Language to be able to communicate with her better and really just like understand the world that she's living in. This was so cute. I watched the entire manga. I watched all like 10 or 12 episodes and was left feeling very empty when that was it. So I picked up the manga and I read through it. I think I'm all caught up now, and I don't know what to do with myself. I still don't really know what to do with myself, but this is such a cute romance. Itsuomi is just a fun and very like what you want in a man. Truly, truly. He takes you to Costco and compares you to tiramisu and learns your language. It's perfect. But I love seeing their love unfold, and I can't wait to read more about them when the manga starts back up, and to see more of the anime should we get a second season. My second most favorite book of the year is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is my first Daphne du Maurier book, and I consider myself a stan. This is a gothic novel following an unnamed author who is whisked away by a man who has widowed, whose name I'm forgetting. His name's inconsequential. Who is swept away by this man, marries him, and goes back to his home, like little mansion of Manderley. Here she learns that she's always known that he was widowed, but here she learns that his first wife, Rebecca, very much so haunts the halls of his home. And she is stuck trying to figure out what happened to Rebecca, what is real, what isn't. It's very anxiety-inducing and very much like has you confused and really questions your reality, which I did quite a lot reading this book. I really wondered if Rebecca was still alive, if she was a ghost manipulating things from the other side, and all this fun stuff. But this book was just so creepy and so anxiety-inducing, and just like I said, really makes you question your reality, which is, I think, the point of the book. But I had a lot of fun now picking up more of Daphne du Maurier books because this was just like top tier. And the last book, I guess, and my top 1 book of 2024 is actually one that I am super excited that I finally got a chance to read, and that is A Dowry of Blood by S.G. Gibson. This follows a young medieval peasant named Constanta who regains her name when she accepts a new life with Dracula and becomes one of his wives. As she's falling more and more in love with him, it follows them throughout the decades and her kind of not falling out of love with him, but unraveling how cruel of a man he can be, especially once he takes out on her and her rival spouses. 5 out of 5 stars. This book was just so heartbreaking. It's like Constanta was like questioning herself this entire time, and as she's putting word down to paper, you can just almost like see her shoulders like drop from her ears and down to a natural size. She's like feeling more vindicated in her choices and what she ultimately ends up doing to protect those she loves and herself. And it's just like so beautifully written and so tragic, and the characters are just so like vibrant off the pages. I had such a fun time reading about them. I had a hard time putting this book down, and it was just so amazing, and I cannot stop thinking about it. But that is it for my top 10 of 2024 best books ever. I always have a fun time filming this video. It's just so nice to look through of all the books that I have read over the year and really just reflect on what I loved about each and every one of them. So, like I said in the beginning, let me know if you have read any of these books, if I have convinced you to read any of these books, or let me know what your top 10 of 2024 books were. Next time, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!